The progression of labor is determined by how easily your baby fits through the mother's body and how easily she can open up and let the baby out. And that makes common sense. That's why dads found birthing better skills to be easy to learn, because it's connected to reality. Big object inside a container, help the container open up, let the big object out. There you go. And that's why fathers spend so much time developing the skills. So there's this factor, and if you've been at a birth, you know what that factor is, and it's called pain. So labor pain is different than other pains like accidents or illness and stuff like that. It's called productive pain, which does not mean you like it any better. It just means that at the end of the pain, you have this baby rather than your appendix being out or a cast on your leg. However, being productive doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Women honestly feel like they're going to die if they don't have the skills, because there's no way to know when this is going to be over. So they get into the painful part of labor, and it just feels like it's going to go on forever. And for a lot of women, when I labored in 1970 and 95% of us labored, there are women who labored for days and days and days. And around the world, that's true as well. If the baby gets stuck and it can't come out, the woman just keeps laboring. And then she eventually gets tired. And then if the baby dies and the baby doesn't come out, then eventually she will die as well. And that's what scares people, is stuck babies and no way to get the baby out. Thankfully, you're living in a world that people do cesareans. And, are there too many cesareans? I don't know. I don't think about that. We just say at your baby's birth, become skilled and use your skills to birth your baby. That's what we think about. However, in your birth, in your VBAC, you want to make certain your baby doesn't get stuck. And so if she's feeling pain, you want her to cope with the pain. And you want to be able to make space for the baby. Now, here's the sort of I don't know, it's like these two parts of it. Okay, the more progressive the birth is, the more painful the contractions are, usually. And a lot of women don't like the pain of contractions. So they get into positions, they do something that backs off the contraction, that plateaus the labor, and they feel better because the labor's backed off. And you're sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't really make sense. She wants to get the baby out, but she's moving away from the effective contractions. And that's where it doesn't make sense. And that's why skills are so very important. This conflict that women feel between, I don't like the pain, so I want to get in positions that ease off the labor, this is where fathers realized that their job was to make certain she kept dealing with the pain and that the labor would be progressive, particularly for VBACs. Particularly for VBACs. If you have a long first stage with a VBAC, she'll get exhausted, baby gets tired, medical professional wants to save both of them, and you're more likely to have another cesarean. Women can be very resistant, and you need to find ways, and that's why we gave you teamwork skills and communication skills and touch skills, and you need to talk about this during pregnancy. What if she starts to resist you? And don't be fooled, because a lot of women who develop these skills recognize that in themselves. They just really want to take a break. They'd like you to do the labor for about a half an hour while they take a break. Is it wrong for women to take a break and get into positions where the contractions back off? What's our opinion of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of births? Don't let her stay that way for long, because once she gets into positions where the pain isn't as great and she stays there for a long period of time, then you have a longer labor. And sometimes it's harder for the baby to sort of stimulate the body again. The other thing is it's just plain harder to go back into intensity. So it's better to recognize and to talk about it beforehand. What happens if your labor is very progressive and you start to fight it and you don't like the pain? What do you want us to do together? And we've worked a lot. We had a lot of athletes come through these programs before we had an online before people could purchase a resource. And both the women and men were athletic, and the women were high quality, top of their line athletes. They get into labor and they would just didn't like it at all because they didn't have any control. And the athletic men just got in their face. Really, you just got to do this. You can do this. I'm going to be with you. I'm never going to leave you. We're going to do this. Just look me in the eye or close your eyes, whatever you want to do. Breathe with me, soften. They just kept doing it. And that's what you just have to do. You have to just keep doing it. So that's how you get through labor, one moment at a time. That's really all we can say. It is very painful. I hated labor. But I really, really, really birth well because I can separate that in my mind, feelings, from the behaviors that I need to have. And that's why there's going to be a PDF in this lesson that's called Negative and Positive Voice. So women can think terrible things, but if they have skills, they need to use that management part of their brain to cope and to feel in control.